everyone and busted mainstream media. You can't deny it any longer. Well, I mean, you can try, but the reality, the revelations are coming light on a continuing, ongoing basis. And the more you try to deny that reality, the more Canadians are coming around to realize and recognize that you're all full of crap and are willing to lie to protect your bottom line. Like I've said before, folks, truth is very powerful. It's so powerful that even the entire arsenal of the state and all the power at their disposal cannot ever come close to denying it or defeating it. Headline out of the Post-Millennial: mainstream media, one of the sources of misinformation in Canada, reveals major report. This being reported by Cosmin Isurza 2 days ago. A new research memo by the Public Policy Forum found that mainstream media outlets like the CBC, CTV, and Huffington Post were one of the causes of misinformation among Canadians. It sounds so good, folks. Well, it's so true, and it resonates with me so much that I'm just going to have to repeat that one more time. A new research memo by the Public Policy Forum found that mainstream media outlets like the CBC, CTV, and Huffington Post were one of the causes of misinformation among Canadians. I love it. Like I say, folks, now that's a powerful truth right there. The one troubling point seems to be that while social media exposure is associated with higher levels of misinformation, so is exposure to traditional or mainstream media, though to a lesser extent, writes the report. The findings are part of the think tank's Digital Democracy Project, which is a multi-year project to analyze and respond to the increasing amounts of disinformation and hate in the digital public sphere. According to the report, those who get their news from mainstream outlets are more likely to give incorrect answers to questions about basic governmental policy issues. That's another one that's just, it's like I say, it's so true, and it's so, not only does it resonate with me, but it's just an observation. I mean, based on my own personal observation, but I mean that I've been paying attention. Who's been paying any more attention than someone like myself? I'll ask you that question. I'm very astute, and I've been very meticulous in making sure that I'm paying attention so that I'm correct, not just in my assumptions, but on the things that I espouse when I talk about these things or these issues in my videos. And I have been, like I say, I've been paying astute attention to this. And the reason why this is resonating with me is because I acknowledge and I've recognized this myself with my own eyes and with my own ears. So this is basically confirming not just my original suspicions, but my own knowledge as well. Which is why, once again, I'm going to repeat this one more time too. Because just like, was it Karina Gold or Catherine McKay, one of those liberals, it is true. If you want people to understand things properly, you got to repeat them over and over and over again, right? And the liberals and the authoritarian collectivists, well, they've known that for a long time, and they've been playing that game for a lot longer than I have. But you know what? How you counteract those people? I mean, if that's the game they want to play, well, you got to play that same game with them. And do it so well that you actually beat them in that competition for the minds of the masses. And while they like to spew rhetoric that is based on false assumptions and false premises, people like myself will win that battle. Why? Because I'll deal with objective reality, logic, and universal consistency in regards to my morals, my ethics, or what is deemed just. According to the report, those who get their news from mainstream outlets are more likely to give incorrect answers to questions about basic governmental policy issues. It's so, well, in a way it's kind of bittersweet, but it's nice to see or be acknowledged when you're correct in your assumptions. I've been saying this stuff for a long time, folks, as you know, or at least those of you who've been watching my videos for some time. And to see that further solidified or reinforced in articles such as this, yeah, I'm just going to do it right now. A little pat on the old shoulder, right? I was out in front and ahead of the game. That's nice to see at least some of those people are starting to catch up. Maybe there's some hope for the future after all. Survey respondents who read or watched more traditional news media were less likely to express uncertainty about policy questions than those with low consumption, but more likely to give an incorrect response, it says. Like I say, if you're being informed solely based on the representation espoused by those who are part and parcel of the establishment in this country, well, this is even acknowledging and recognize the fact that, yeah, you're wrong, you're out of touch with reality, and you really should start to do something about that. Because if you keep doubling down on this kind of stuff, well, it's going to place you further and further away from not just the actual mainstream that represents the culture of the population in this country, but reality itself. When asking respondents to reply to statements on certain policy issues like the environment, immigration, and the economy, those with a high amount of traditional media consumption gave nearly twice as many incorrect answers than those with low traditional media consumption. Hey, once again, another little pat on the back for not just me, but hey, Post of the Millennial, pat on your back. True North News, pat on all of your back, right? All the contributors to these, alternative media outlets and sites. Hey, good for you, because this is just further solidified and proven that actually you're the ones that are helping better educate and inform the Canadian population than those who represent the establishment media in this country. And not only is that a beautiful thing, but kudos and good on you for doing so. That's how we're going to push back against these authoritarian collectivists. Not by raising down to their level, but by holding ourselves to a much higher standard. When they want to go low, we'll go high. Respondents with high levels of traditional news media exposure reported uncertainty in answer to our fact-based questions, 2 fewer times than those with lower levels of media consumption, reads the report. They gave 0.9 more correct responses. However, they also gave 1.1 more incorrect responses, which means they gave 0.2 more net incorrect responses than those with lower exposure. Among other findings, the memo claims that most Canadians consume a majority of their news from the following 5 outlets: CBC Online, 42%, CTV, 41%, CTV Online, 40%, CBC Television, 39%, and TVA Nouvelles, 37%. According to the report, the project surveyed over 1,000 Canadians and analyzed millions of social media posts to achieve its findings. So anyways, folks, I'll place a link to this article in the description of the video below, but these kind of revelations are going to continue to come to light. So like I say, if you're still one of those people, and most of the ones that are watching this video probably are not, but hey, share my video with those who are, because that's how important it is to get this information out to them people. I don't want to function in an echo chamber, folks. Spread these kind of things around to the people that really need to hear it. But those people need to hear this stuff. And what I'm going to tell them is, as long as you keep mindlessly consuming the propaganda espoused by those who represent the media establishment in this country, or the political establishment in this country, you're going to see time and time again, as these things unfold, as the years go by, as the months go by, as the days go by, you're going to see that you're more and more out of touch with actual reality. And you don't want to find yourself in that position. Come on, you don't want to function from a place of ignorance. I expect and I suspect that most Canadians want to hold themselves to a much higher level than just falling into, I want to align with my tribal political party, right? No, you know, if you want to have a prosperous nation filled with free people who think critically about issues, then you have to reject your own internal biases and your own ideology for the sake of standing in solidarity with those who are trying to tell the truth, or get Canadians up to speed to understand that, yes, this mainstream media and the establishment of this country are very much all about using propagandist narratives or politically biased rhetoric as a means to keep you dumbed down, confused and confounded, so that they can maintain their structures of power and keep benefiting at your expense. Come on, Canada. I know you're better than this. I know you have to be better than this. I firmly believe most of you are. Not all, but I firmly believe at least most Canadians are wise enough to know that we are living in the times where you really got to start thinking critically about these issues and standing firm on your convictions and principles, and rejecting those who are using political rhetoric or some form of authoritarian collectivists to silence, suppress, or to keep this nation divided. We can break free from this stuff, folks, but the only way it's ever going to happen, the only way this can unfold properly without completely breaking down the society of Canada and this culture in this country, the only way that can happen is if we actually sit down and start talking about these things seriously. With each other. Not functioning in echo chambers, right? We have to sit down, right-wingers, left-wingers, libertarians, independents. We all got to sit down at the adult table and start hammering some of these issues out. Start discussing some of these things that affect every one of us. And not in a childish, petulant manner, but as the adults we are. So thanks once again to the Post-Millennial for pointing out this reality. And it wasn't just the Post-Millennial. That's, like I say, I'm referencing the Post-Millennial article. But this has been acknowledged and recognized by even some of the mainstream media publications, although, like I say, to them, they probably would have written something much smaller and in a fleeting article that hopefully no one actually got to see, because they don't want to destroy their own credibility. Even though what they've been doing in recent years has done a great job of actually doing that, that's not their original intention. Their original intention is to confuse and confound you so that you align with their ideologically driven motives. But like I say, these people are failures, and that's what happens when you become part and parcel of the state and you don't function in a free market. When you function into a top-down, authoritarian, collectivist regime, you basically cease to understand what it is to function in a free market type of environment. You cease to acknowledge what it is to be a critical thinker on these issues, and you become more and more susceptible to just go along with the talking points and the ideologically driven perspectives handed down to you by your political masters or your so-called thought leaders. You really should do better than that if you want to remain relevant, because if you're not, well, there's always people that are willing to step up and take your place. And the post-millennial is doing a great job of doing that. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.